Hey, so I am joined today by Loretta, who is going to tell us a bit about using radio as a medium to promote yourself. And I'm pretty excited to hear about this because it's something that never really occurred to me. So Loretta applied and it sounded very interesting. So I thought, yes, let's have Loretta on and hear a bit about this.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah, so uh, maybe you can start by telling us why we should consider it.
Sure thing. And thanks for having me, Lou. Why we should consider it. I love radio because of its intimacy, because you get to be in someone's ears. They get to hear you, they get to experience your vibe, all those things, which doesn't always come across in written text, in a blog or, in a written form in a sales page. So it's lovely to have an intimacy about it. The other great thing about radio is it's often live. So your energy is up. And I don't know if you've ever done pre-recorded videos
All the
and you
time.
take six, yeah, and you do like 16 takes because
Yep.
oh no, I stuffed that line up. There's a vulnerability
Yeah.
about being live on radio. So it's a beautiful form of connection. And I'm involved in community radio, and I'm not quite sure if you know much about community radio,
Mm-mm.
but basically it's radio by the people for the people. There are community radio stations all around Australia, all around the world. There will be one pretty much in everyone's hometown that you might not even tuned into, but it is an accessible way to be able to get your message out there in without having to really feel like you're competing with the big kids, on the commercial radio stations, thinking, I could never get on,
Mm.
Triple M or Fox or whatever the big ones are. We don't need to be there because our audience necessarily isn't expecting us to be
Mm-hmm.
there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I fell into community radio and I absolutely love it. I never really planned on being in there. But when I started, I was like, this is amazing. And I've got a platform that I can help elevate people's voices and messages. And then I started to look out for people who I could have on my program that I could have really cool conversations with.
Mm.
And do you know what happens, Lou, when I reach out to people? Do you know the first thing they say when I say, would you like to be on my program?
Tell me.
They say no.
Oh.
And they go, but I've got nothing. I've got nothing to share. Oh, why would no? Why would you invite me? So, and I think because we often don't value what we know or our
Mm.
expertise or our thing that we do because we just do it often with a lot of ease.
Yeah.
So, what I would my first tip for anyone thinking, I wonder, no, could I? No. Yes, the answer is yes. If you are someone who can speak, then radio is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first thing is decide that you can, and then you work out how you're going to get on. So I've got a tip on that. Can I share that, Lou?
Yeah, that sounds like a good yeah,
Next
next
step.
point.
So what I would do is, so community radio stations are they're not commercial, so they don't play ads.
Mm.
They will do community sponsored announcements and those sorts of things. So we can't promote businesses. We can't get on there, and I can't have you come on and say sale, sale, sale next Tuesday. Get down and buy all my stuff. That's not what community radio is about. So it's
Mm.
not about promoting a business, but it doesn't mean that you can't go on and share your expertise. And we'll know when we share our expertise, someone goes, oh, I heard such and such talk about that. They could be my person, my connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to reach out to them. Do you know what I mean? We all know that when we give value, that we create connection, and that's what people buy. They
Yeah.
buy. We talk about they know. We buy because if we know, like, and trust someone.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to build that up. So the first thing you need to do is find your local community radio station. And there's a whole list of them. If you
Mm-hmm.
Google it, you'll find them in your town. And even if you haven't got one in your town, you can absolutely potentially be on someone via a telephone link up. So they can be,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of 100 kilometers away. Um, and then you need to approach them and let them know who you are and what you would be able to come on and chat about.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see you thinking, like your eyes
Oh
went
yeah.
thinking. So if you've got a service or you've got a product or you've got knowledge that you can share, what I say to people is think about what the story is for that.
Hmm.
So for instance, this morning I had a family lawyer on my program, and we spoke about nesting, this concept where when people break up, the kids stay at home and the parents come in and out of the house, right? So she
Hmm.
was kind of to come in and share that expertise. I said her business name, I said her name. She sounded really intelligent and really professional. Do you know what I mean? So have a think about what is something that I can share,
Hmm.
so that I can say, I've got this expertise, I'd love to come in and share
Yeah.
on a program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Actually, it's making me want to say something. I was just thinking this being on a show is a good opportunity, to share your expertise, but because it's in an interview format and you might have like a specific topic that you're interested in or know a lot about, it gives you the opportunity to chat with someone who may not know very much. So it's almost like while you're speaking about your subject with the host, it's also like you're talking to the audience and like approaching it as if they've never heard about it before.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
something that I always suggest to people is I say, have you got a blog that I can read? Like, say, if
Mhm.
you were to approach me, I'd say, have you got a blog or have you got something that, that talks about what you want to talk about? So that as the host, I don't have to go and do a lot of research because we don't have a
Mm,
whole lot of time, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I have a bookkeeper that comes on and talks to me maybe every 6 weeks. I have a woman who's a consultant in accessibility and inclusion. And
Hmm.
what they do is they will go, they say, hey, Loretta, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know, what are we going to talk about? We've got a relationship, obviously.
Hmm.
I'll say, what's your latest blog? Send that to me. And so
Hmm.
they send me the blog. And, in blogs, we tend to set out the concept and
Yep.
then we maybe give a couple of steps to break it open for someone. That's or what so you give your host
Mhm.
and they will go, tell me about nesting. Who's it good for?
Mhm.
And then, this blog that I had this morning, it had the pitfalls and it had things to consider. So I asked her about those things. And and she sounded brilliant because she'd already written it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
So, what I will often say to people is, but when you come and you say, hey, I've got this expertise around family law, just for instance, as an example,
Yep.
or bookkeeping, or health and nutrition, or whatever the thing is, to make it helpful for the host for them to understand how they're going to make a story out of it, give
Mm.
them what the pitch is or give them the angle. It might be osteoporosis week in 2 weeks time, and you working in health and fitness, and you know that weight bearing exercise is really important.
Mhm.
So if you say, oh, can I, did you know it's osteoporosis week? Women, brittle bones, if they don't lift weights, blah, 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 blah. I've got my
Mm.
best 3 tips. Thank you. So understand how you can make a story of it, understand where you fit into, the news cycle, or if maybe you've got an event that's coming up and you want to share about the
Mhm.
event and what the message of the event is. And so work out, because the host needs to have a story. They need to understand why they're interviewing you. Makes
Yep.
sense?
Yeah. Gotcha. So, like, what would you say to someone um who is like, oh, but my topic's not interesting?
Can you give me an example of not an interesting topic?
Well, we could talk about what I talk about, which is ads. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like ads, but they make businesses money.
Exactly. So every business wants to make more money. So
Mhm.
if you're pitching to me, there might be a study that has just been done that you're aware of,
Mm.
or something that says, one in two businesses fail every year.
Mhm.
Um, However, those that engage with their audiences do better. I don't know. There might be some study,
Yeah.
and you would go, oh yeah, that's because they're actually because ads work when they connect it when we have human connection and behavior
Yeah.
and we understand who our ideal client is and all that sort of stuff. So you might come to me and say, I'd love to come and talk about human behavior and why people buy.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right, so
Well,
it's
that's
it's
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I got there in the end. I had to think about it, but so it might be a study that's just been released in your area. LinkedIn is great for that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
go and find a really cool article on LinkedIn that you didn't even write that actually points to why your area is interesting and helpful.
Hmm.
Maybe then take that as an inspiration, write a blog post about it, and then you've got your story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that
Okay?
working.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had illustrators of children's books, artists, um, nutritionists,
Hmm.
fitness coaches, a financial advisor, family therapist, as I said, inclusion consultant, business consultants, um, uh, people with lived experience
Yeah.
of maybe health conditions.
Hmm.
There's sort of yeah, there's sort of nobody that I wouldn't interview as long as there's a story in it, as long as there's something that I can relate to
Mm.
and is of interest. We can make it happen.
That sounds wonderful.
I've got one more tip. Can I give it? Because I know we're probably running out of time.
Ah, yes, please.
Okay, so you've got the gumption up to ask, and so
Hmm.
maybe you've pitched yourself to them, and you've decided you're going to do that. And here's my story, and here's the angle that I'd love to be, helped with. And I would definitely have a listen to the different shows that are on the community radio station.
Yeah,
Work out which one's going to be the best fit for you, right?
yeah.
Okay. On the day, take a selfie of yourself outside of the studio,
Okay.
right? Before you go in, say, I'm about to be on 94.7 The
Hmm.
Pulse at 10 a.m. Make sure you tune, listen to me. Tag the radio station in
Yeah.
that in your social media. Make sure you get a selfie with the host inside. They will want that, absolutely.
Hmm.
Ask them if you can have a recording of the interview. They will absolutely give you the recording. Repurpose that recording, send it to your email list. Um, Put it on your social media, make little bite-sized things out of it.
Hmm.
If you're going to go to the effort of doing it, then repurpose it as much as you can and get the most out of the experience.
Yeah, milk it.
Totally milk it. Yeah, because you've done the work thinking about the topic,
Hmm.
so you might as well put it in as many places as you can.
Yeah. Like, when I'm getting a photo shoot with a professional photographer, the last one I did, she set aside like 5 seconds just to take a photo of herself taking photos. Like, you got to seize those micro opportunities wherever you are.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, if you, so there'll be three things you'll say to the host after the interview's done.
Okay.
The first thing you'll say is, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The second thing you'll say is, that went really quick. And the third thing you'll say is, I didn't use any of my notes that I prepared. But you'll be nervous. You'll think you haven't got
Yeah.
enough to say to fill the time, and you'll write copious notes. But do all that. Do it
Mm-mm.
all,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
feel really
yeah,
prepared.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It's nice, like, even if you, like you say, if you don't use the notes, just having that preparation beforehand will make you feel more relaxed and less anxious.
Totally. And it just means that the words come a little easier to the
Yeah,
lips, that they just stumble out of your mouth that little bit easier. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
I agree. Oh, that is so wonderful. And yes, this is like really nice that we could fit this into a little bite-sized podcast episode.
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
but utilize what's out there. Hosts are always looking for content,
yeah.
and they love a good guest. They love a prepared guest, and so be that person.
Awesome. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Loretta. Would you like to plug the name of your show?
Sure. It's Loretta's Front Page on
Mhm.
94.7 The Pulse. It's Wednesday mornings between 9 and 11. If you head to, I'm in Geelong.
Okay.
So if you're not in Geelong, you can still hear it. You can head to the website 94.7 The Pulse, Loretta's Front Page, and you'll be able to hear all my back recordings and have a listen. There you go. And I talk about news and current affairs, and I have a strong focus on women's health, their stories, and issues that impact them.
Oh, that's wonderful. I might have to give it a listen when I'm looking for something to listen to.
Please do. It'd be great.
All right. Thank you so much, Loretta.
My pleasure. Thanks, Lou.